Hi, welcome back to Just Another Land Cruiser, and today we are going to be talking brakes. Hi, welcome to Just Another Land Cruiser, and today we're going to be talking about brakes on the 75 series here. If you've been following along, this is a 80 series chassis with a 75 series cab put on top of it. The brakes that were original with the frame came from a 96 LX 450, which was anti-lock brakes. I will not be running anti-lock brakes on this truck. The 75 series never came with it, at least in the model I'm using, so that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm not going to get into why you should or should not get rid of anti-lock brakes, or even the discussion on which one's better, any of that. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing here, and that is about it. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing. Alright, so to start off with, we'll start up here at the brake booster and master cylinder area. Brake booster, running 80 series, bolted right into the 75 series cab, no issues there. Going to run the 80 series master cylinder, that also just bolts to the brake booster, so that's just an easy swap there. This master cylinder is from the 96 LX 450, which is meant for front and rear anti-lock brakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this eventually for a 93, 94 era four-wheel disc brake non-ABS master. Plug right in here, won't be any swap other than just undoing the front and rear line, putting it in, bolting it back together. So that's the easy part. So now what I'm going to get into is where these lines go down to each axle and how I did it. So let's start at the front. Alright, so to start off, we're going to go to the factory 80 series here and look at the lines that this truck originally had matched this truck on the frame. So we'll look at what this one was. So looking down here at the front axle, the later model 80 series had brake lines that dropped on the passenger side and driver side from each axle. So you're going to have a line going down here and get onto the other side. And then you had the other line coming over the firewall down here, and then had this other line going down to the axle and then to the caliper. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So what I did on the 75 here is, alright, so what I did here is I deleted the line that went over across the firewall the other side. I went with a single drop on the driver's side, left-hand side here, like the early 80 series. So your front line will come down the axle just the same on the later early. And then as you can see, it goes to that three-way splitter right there. That's the only part I had to buy to switch this out to what I wanted to do. So here's the part that I took off. This is the two-way splitter. Basically, you can get the three-way splitter and just unbolt this one, take it out of the mix, install this, and that gives you the line that goes, get on the other side here. Alright, so we're under the axle now. So there's your line drop from the frame, goes down here, goes into the three-way splitter. This line here is already there, so you're just going to leave that or plug that back into the splitter. And the new line right here, that's the only other thing I had to deal with to delete all the lines that go to the right side. So I just made this line, followed it all the way over, and what's nice is these little clamps here, that's where the ABS line was going. So I just followed that up and over the pumpkin, and you got more lines there that you can secure the new line down. Going over here, goes into right there, and then it just goes right back into the line. On an earlier video, I don't know if I mentioned that I had changed the stainless steel line, so right there, nothing coming down from here, nice and clean, and it just takes a fail point out and just kind of goes back to a simpler way to do it. So that's for the front. Now let's follow the rear back. All right, so for the rears, I just kept it stock. Did not do anything back here other than add this extended line for the lift. That's stainless, and then just left the rear as it is. Now, a few things to note. Since I am not running ABS on this truck, I had to do something with the holes where the ABS sensors work. So since we're already here at the rear, all I did was, so the sensor, it's hard to see here, went right here. I just unbolted that, and then right now I just have a piece of duct tape there. There are people that make block off plates. Wits End has some nice ones for the front and the rear if you go that route. So look them up. They can get you squared away on block off plates. Now for the front, I made my own block off plate. It was nice and simple. Right there. All it is, you pull the ABS sensor out, make a little out of flat stock, get some Pookie RTV, put it down, put the bolt back in, and you're set. Don't have to ever open that again. The block off plate that people sell is basically that, just beautified. And I believe Wits End has a grease fitting, so you can actually, without undoing this plug, you can actually just put your grease gun up to it and fill here as needed. I don't find that being that difficult, and it actually undo that, put your zip tie in, see how much you're low, and squeeze some in. So, and then you can see a little bit better view of the line coming down here and going up and over the axle there. Now, what to do with, since you're deleting a line that goes across the firewall, how do you delete that from this side? All right, so from the master, you got your front and rear brake line here. Those are both going to come down. I just ran them along the firewall, or sorry, the inner fender here, just like the 80 series. Just kind of rebent the lines, found some holes to use the same little clasps that came off the 80 series, and just kept everything there. So there's those lines. Those are the factory lines. One of these is going to run to the rear, one of these is going to run to the front. Leave those as is. So for the proportioning valve that's in the back here, I am leaving that. And that is, let me get under here. I'm sure most of y'all that have an 80 series know about the proportioning valve. It's kind of hard to see, light, but it is right here. See right there. So I left all those lines intact. So my understanding is how that works is basically when you're braking, your vehicle will go forward, lifting the rear end. So the front line goes back here, does some magic there that is beyond my mind, and basically changes the brake pressure for the rear depending on how much the back end comes up. And when you lift this, when you lift a vehicle, you actually have to lower that proportioning valve. You just unbolt it and move it down according to your lift. Not hard to do. So since those lines were there, I just wanted to leave them. There's no sense on me removing something like that. So once again, this one goes to the front brake. This one on the right goes down. Plugs right into this. This is a factory fitting right here. This one actually isn't factory. I had to make this one because I was missing it off my parts rig. But it goes down there, catches that, and then that one is the return from the rear. So for the front, which is at the rear of the master cylinder, which is a little odd. Usually that one's up here, I believe. But anyway, so your front goes down here, and this T is basically going to tee it out to two places. One to the front axle and the other to the rear. We're going to leave those intact. So the only thing we did was delete that line over there, get rid of all the garbage that goes along with it, and just simplify it here. All your lines are here. The only thing you would need to go to an early style brake would be that fitting and then that line right there, which I believe is still available. I made my own line, and if you have the capability to make your own line, you don't even need to go buy new tubing, because you have a big old piece that went across that firewall, which is right here. And that is plenty of line to make that one for the axle. All you gotta do is bend it. You got one fitting already on one end, so you really only have to make one end. Not that hard. You can probably bring it to a shop that does brakes and they'll spend literally 5 minutes, probably pretty cheap to get that line reflared, cut and reflared wherever you want it. So that's about it. So now I'll show you too, in case you do not want to delete the line and go through that mess. You just want to say, get rid of the ABS. Once again, I'm not telling you you should, not telling you shouldn't. I'm just letting you know what people have done and how to do it. So let's pop the 80 hood here. All right, so looking at an 80 series here, that the ABS module was here where I have the battery charger. That's gone. So basically you are going to delete one line, bend one line to here, and then the other 3 lines that came from the ABS module, you're just going to put this T in and join them all together. That's all you need to do to delete the ABS. You can leave all the sensors in place. You can leave all the brake lines in place. All you're doing is deleting one line and teeing up the other 3. And so now let me go show you how the factory looks so you can actually see that too. Go down to the parts rig here. All right, so here's the factory setup. If you wanted to delete this big module, real easy. This line here that goes to the front of the master that plugs in here, unscrew it, throw it away. This one here, rebend that to go into here. These 3 lines here, all you got to do is get a 3-way T and just tie them in together. Done. Nice and easy. Now, beware that these master cylinders are for ABS. So they're valved a little different. Most people get a manual proportioning valve and tie that into the rear line. And that helps them adjust the rear brakes to the front. Or you can not do anything. Your rears may lock up before the front, which isn't good. So beware of that. And the other thing is, probably wouldn't hurt to replace the master cylinder with one that properly came from a Land Cruiser that had 4-wheel disc brakes, no anti-lock brakes, with a rear proportioning valve in the rear that's already there. The LSVP, PV, whatever they call it. But yeah, nice and easy. All right, there you have it. Brakes are done. Knock that off the list. So subscribe to the channel, give me a like, be ready for the next video, and y'all have a nice quarantine time with your own projects. Post them up. All right, there you go. Thanks, guys.